We don't have half an hour.
I thought we had till 22.
That is not half an hour.
Well, 25 minutes.
23
Okay,
minutes.
well, okay, I know what we've got. All right. Sorry, the gentleman right at the back, please. Can you keep your questions brief and the answers brief, because we've got little time?
Well, here's the question, but can I just thank everybody who's come and talked this afternoon, because I didn't really understand this until I came here. You know, you see it here.
That's not a question.
One question.
That's not a question.
Well,
Thank you.
I mean, what I'm going to ask you is whether I've understood this properly, and if I can put it a bit more clearly, because I didn't realise precisely what this TTIP was. Yeah. So can I just put it? Hurry up. Yeah, hurry up if you don't interrupt me. Right. Now, what we seem to have is about 4 stages here. When I came here today, I didn't know anything about this, other than it was some sort of extension of the European Union single market. Now, that might have problems, but that's all I thought it was. Now, where you're going from here is to say that, you know, sociologists like me might know about different varieties of capitalism, of a European and the United States variety. Now, what seems to be happening here is to standardise northern capitalism on the United States basis. Yeah? Now, by doing that, by standardising sort of frictions, or what these monetarists used to call rigidities, things which stop markets from operating on a free market basis. Now, they then seem to back that up with these legal clauses which force countries to go along with overcoming these rigidities and enforcing that with tribunals. If you don't want me to hurry up, then I'm just going to leave it at that. But I just like to think that that puts it concisely and makes people realise what a sort of threat this is, because I didn't probably realise this. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so we just leave it at that. Yeah.
Yes, fine. Next statements, of course, fine. The lady there in the centre, and then, okay, and then you, and then you. Please, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about, it's in relation to the NHS, about the Labour Party position. Because I've heard Andy Burnham say that...
Could you stand up, please?
I've heard Andy Burnham say that, you know, the Labour Party will definitely repeal the Health and Social Care Act, and also say, supposedly, I think, to try and calm fears about privatisation, he says, oh, the NHS will be preferred provider. I just wanted to ask, can Andy Burnham even believe those words, and what really lies behind them?
Thank you.
Andy Burnham is paid to put forward party policy, and the Labour Party is run by a clique of people who are really tied to city interests. That's what Blair's photograph was doing up in the presentation. The Labour Party is promoting TTIP. John Healey is in charge of the promotion of TTIP in Parliament, and John Healey is part of the Labour frontbench team. To have a preferred provider requires there to continue to be a market. And if there's still a market in the NHS, we're dragged into trade law. Burnham does know these things, yes, because he's been told them by a lot of different people, a lot of different times, and some of them by me. So I know very well that he's been told that. I understand that previously, prior to taking on the health portfolio, during which time, by the way, he presided over the bringing in of Health Act 2009, that was just on the switchover time. So he's speaking in Hansard about it with great approval, and it contains a way to privatise hospitals, an innovative way to privatise hospitals, and he's promoting that. I understand he previously was also the face of ID cards with RFID chips in them, denying that they had chips in them, and then it turning out that, oh, they did after all. That's a report from a book I've read around that issue. But it seems like Burnham, who is after all very photogenic and very lovely, is kind of their poster boy for the really unacceptable stuff, I'm sorry to say.
If the Labour Party was serious about the NHS, they would be challenging Cameron now to insist that the NHS is exempt from the trade agreement.
Can I just a quick general point is that I think what will happen is that if TTIP goes through, a lot of politicians will say, well, I absolutely agree with you, but unfortunately my hands are tied and we've got to do this. So they'll better put the blame on TTIP. And that's what will happen. Whatever promises they make now, they say, we would have done it, but TTIP doesn't let us. Sorry.
I'll just make one additional point about that. Many people may not be aware that France wanted to, because it wants to protect its film industry, excluded audiovisual services totally from TTIP. So the French government, when Linda talked about the negative listing principle, France said, no, we can't have that in it. They put their foot down. Our government could have done that, but didn't. Anyway, the lady in the white sweater with the sunglasses on her head.
Yeah, my question was about the consultation that happened a couple of months ago about the ISDS. Do you know the outcome of that? And is there a wider public consultation now about TTIP in general, or was that it?
That's it.
Okay. What we do know is that something like 150,000 entries were made to that consultation, absolutely unprecedented. We also know that the vast majority of those said just keep it out of TTIP, even though that wasn't one of the questions. We also know that the Commission is just sitting there thinking, what the hell are we going to do with this? Because that isn't how they wanted it to be. So they're sitting on it, and they're obviously trying to come up with a way. I think what they're trying to do is say, well, 50,000 of these were actually the same answer, so we'll count that as one answer. So they'll actually try to get rid of as many of those as possible. And then they'll come with some, well, it wasn't actually as clear-cut as it seems, and we're going ahead anyway.
Sam, do you want to make a point?
I can continue from that. So what was just said is entirely true. So I think they're producing the results. They're meant to be out this month, actually, I think towards the end of this month. Yeah, so November. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But it must be sort of made clear that the template for that consultation was the Canadian trade agreement and the ISDS clause in that. That was what we were given to comment on, and they've just decided to go ahead with that anyway. So I wouldn't hold up too much hope of it doing so much. But there were some positives from it. It engaged people. 50,000 plus of those responses were from the UK, which was the most of any country. So for a country that doesn't engage on Europe, I think that's, or we don't engage on Europe, it's quite a positive thing. And in terms of further, you asked if there was further things that were going on. At the moment, there's something called the European Citizens Initiative, the public version of it, because the European Commission actually decided not to allow the official version to go through. So the aim is to get 1 million signatures from across the EU. And that's going through at the moment. And I think it's got around 750,000 people signed up at the moment. So if you haven't done that yet, I would encourage you to do it. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just say one more thing, because it's very important. You mentioned CETA. This is the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement with Canada. And this is basically a kind of dry run for TTIP. It has all been finished in the sense that the negotiations are over. However, it also has an ISDS clause in it, and it specifically has a clause that says if you have substantial interests in Canada, you can use CETA. So every American company that is in Canada will be able to sue the European Union through CETA. So it's no good getting rid of ISDS from TTIP. You've got to get rid of it from CETA as well. So it's a double problem.
Linda, did you want to say? No. Okay, it was a gentleman there.